All right, American history buffs. Back to Unit 7. This is, again, Chapter 29. I was talking about President Reagan, and here's the thing. Some of you will know that I'm not necessarily an avid Republican at this particular point. I'm much more of an independent. Some people would argue with me on that, but here's the thing you have to know. In my very first election, I voted for Ronald Reagan. I thought he was a great candidate. I thought he was a really good guy. I was following politics. I watched Carter's election, his reelection. I watched them try to draft Reagan the first time through, and I watched them draft him into this particular movement. He gets the label as a great communicator, and he really is. He knows his audience. The man was an actor, folks. He was an actor for years, and so he knows how to talk. He knows how to present. He knows how to stylize. He knows how to deliver what it is he wants you to see, and so he is a very effective communicator, and he does that. You have to realize he really does that. He sells the image. Is he a good president? Yeah, he's a pretty good president. His idea of trickle-down economics, supply-side economics, Reaganomics, whatever you want to call it. The idea of spending money, that if you spend money, if you cut the taxes of the people up here, okay? If you cut the taxes of the people up here, they have more money. If they have more money in their pocket, they'll spend some more money. So that way, that money they spend will trickle down through businesses, through manufacturing. It'll trickle down to the laborers down here. So therefore, if these people up here have more money, these people here will have more money too. And the idea is to use the government to cut taxes in such a way that eventually the idea of increasing the economy, well, means more people will make more money, so therefore they'll pay more taxes, and so therefore it will make up the balance. Doesn't work. Although it does foment some changes in business, rich people don't get rich by spending their money. They get rich by keeping more money than they spend. That trickle down doesn't work because we don't pass on that money to the worker bees. All right, so it doesn't show up in their pockets. So what we do is we create one huge economic disaster in the way of a looming budget crisis. We are really going to build up the deficit. We're going to also do that because we're going to spend money on weapons. We're going to spend money on missiles. We're going to spend money on a lot of different things. And what will happen is we're going to push Soviet Union, to spend more money. Eventually, what happens is this. They spend too much more money, and we will come into a new representative, a new chairman, a new person in charge, Mikhail Gorbachev, and Mikhail Gorbachev is going to look and say, look, we're having a looming fiscal crisis, financial crisis. We're doing this and that, and there's a lot of dissension. There's a lot of blossoming of democratic movements, and so what he's going to do is decide that the current version of communism isn't working, and what he wants to do is he wants to open up a more market-friendly economic version of communism in such a way that he's going to change the way the Soviet Union does business. The policy of honesty, the policy of reaching out, is going to be due in some cases the fact that they're struggling with many of their local countries like Poland. Poland is going to have a rebellion. Poland is going to throw off the yoke. Poland is going to declare independence, and they're going to be struggling with them, and the choice is they can clamp down on them or they can run with it. He is going to develop the policy of glasnost, of perestroika, of openness, of friendliness, of reaching out, and he's going to start changing the dynamics of the Soviet Union into a market economy. They're going to get friendly with us, and part of this, what I normally have you look at is Reagan's speech in front of the wall in Berlin, the one that's labeled Tear Down This Wall speech. Because one of the things he does is he's going to negotiate some treaties, he's going to push some agendas, and then he's going to stand in front of that wall, which is that beacon, that marker of the Cold War, and say, hey, listen, democracy has been successful. Soviets and their communism is proving unsuccessful, that you need to change or you need to die, and we invite you to go ahead and change. And if you want to see and show that you're honest about this want to change, well, tear down this wall. That's going to be the fall of the Soviet Union. That's going to be the fall of the wall, the reunification of Germany. It's going to be the breakup of the Soviet Union itself. There's a lot of things that happen, and so you have to pay attention to that, because not only is that going to be Gorbachev, but that's also going to be Boris Yeltsin. There's also going to be some other folks that come up that stick around here for a while. Also, this is the birth of the microprocessor. So you got to look at technology, because the book talks about ENIAC, and ENIAC is that one of that first computers. It's we're looking at what's going to be the birth of modern computing. Unfortunately, we're also looking at the birth of HIV and AIDS. We're looking at the birth of a lot of things going on at this particular point. There's a lot of again, changes are still happening. Let's see, from Ronald Reagan. From Ronald Reagan, we move on. We move on to William Jefferson Clinton. Yeah, all the jokes you want to make about it, go ahead and make all the jokes. I voted for Clinton as well. Here's the thing. We know for a fact Clinton was not the first one to pull what Clinton did. If you're not familiar with what Clinton did, you're not familiar with some of those things, I will let you look it up. What we do know is that Nixon is going to be prosecuted. That's going to start the beginnings of us looking behind the curtain, looking beyond what's happening. And so what we're going to have is we're going to have the Monica Lewinsky scandal. And the Monica Lewinsky scandal comes up because apparently before he was president and when he was governor, both Clinton and his wife were up to some banking and land sales shenanigans that are going to come to haunt them. And they're going to launch a special investigation, and because they can't find proof on what they want, they're going to take the proof they can find, which in this case, it's going to be the president has been having an extramarital affair with at least one of the young assistants that he has, and he's going to make a mistake. Not only was the mistake having it, but the mistake was denying it when he's confronted. He's going to say, and his epic line is, "I did not have sex with that woman." But he does it with a southern accent, and I can't do a southern accent. But here's the thing, he's going to deny that, and I don't care how you define it. Apparently he did have sex with that woman, and they prove it, and what it does is it blows up his presidency. Did Clinton do it? Yes. Should he have done it? No. Did he do other things while he was in office? Yes. He erased the national deficit, folks. He got rid of that looming budget crisis. He created some social outreach programs. He helped a lot of disadvantaged people. He did some good things. He also did some stupid things. Yeah, and that's what you got to know. He did a bit of both, but he leaves the country fiscally in better shape than he found it. Because he did what he did, well, the last thing we want is another Democratic president. So we end up with George Bush 2. Okay? Because we went from Reagan to Bush. We went from Bush to Clinton, and we go from Clinton back to another Bush at this particular point, and we end up in some things happening. What I want to talk about, we can't gloss over what's going to happen with 9/11 at this particular point. All right, and that's going to be hugely important. So I want you to make sure that we watch the next video, because I want to talk a little bit about what happens with that, and then I want to talk about some modern changes. What we'll do is we will go ahead and jump to the very last chapter for this unit.